I'm mad at Disney, they tricked me, had me wishing on a shooting star. But now I'm 20 something, I still know nothing about who I am or what I'm not. So call me a pessimist, but I don't believe in it. Finding a truth is cause I feel sad, love. I feel bad, love. Sometimes
Hey everyone, this is Nat and welcome back to another video of DIY project. So for today's video, as you can see in the introduction before, I'll be making a puffy dress which is inspired from the brand Selkie. Jadi this brand Selkie itu selalu pop up on my Instagram feeds as well as my Pinterest feeds, and I really love the concept of their dreamy dress. I finished making them and it turns out that the result is really nice because of the puffy sleeve and the puffy skirt. It gives like a dramatic effect. So today I'll be showing you how I make this dress, and I hope that you enjoy today's video. Please, if you do like it and find this video useful, subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. So first, let's start with the measurement. Jadi pertama, kalian mau ukur the bodice area, which is starting by measuring the circumference atau lingkar of the upper bust, lanjut ke lingkar bust, dan juga terakhir ke lingkar lower bust. Terus selanjutnya kalian mau tahu seberapa besar nanti bodice-nya, and to measure that, ukur dari neck to the upper bust, and then the neck to the lower bust. Dari bagian lower bust, ukur seberapa panjang kalian mau roknya nanti. Terus lanjut ukur your armhole, lingkar lengan kalian, dan juga panjang sleeve kalian mau seberapa. So let's continue with the pattern. Jadi pertama, untuk bagian bodice, I make the pattern into 4 panels. 2 panel bagian depan, which I label A and B, dan 2 panel bagian belakang C and D. Jadi nanti untuk jahitnya, you want to combine the panel A to the panel B, which is going to be the front, dan gabungin panel C to panel D, which is going to be the back. Terus sambungin sisi sampingnya, which is by combining panel B to panel C. Next, you have the sleeve. Ini sleeve-nya aku udah buat, but if you want to make it more puffier than mine, kalian bisa buat itu lebih besar bagian bawahnya, lebih panjang. Jadi nanti hasilnya dia akan lebih puffy. Jadi buat skirtnya, I have 2 patterns, which is the outer skirt and the inner skirt. Jadi buat pola outer skirt, kalian mau kaliin your lower bust dikali 3. That is to make the gathered effect supaya roknya tuh fluffy. Jadi kalian mau kerut roknya itu nanti. Dan caranya untuk mencari tahu radiusnya circle skirt ini, caranya adalah the measurement of your lower bust divided by 6.28, and then you get the radius. And then from the radius, just measure how long your skirt want to be. Buat pola inner skirt, kalian nggak usah kaliin, just divide the lower bust by 6.28. Next, for the fabric, I'm using the organza fabric, dan aku butuh sekitar 5 meter untuk ngebuat dress ini. Jadi selanjutnya, let's continue to cut the fabric. So organza is a really slippery material, so I suggest to pin all the pattern carefully on top of the fabric. Kalau kalian nggak pin mereka carefully, the pattern will easily slip and you will mismatch your cutting. Before cutting, make sure to lay down all the pattern first on top of the fabric. Especially circular skirt, it takes a lot of space. Karena kalian nggak mau terakhir ujung-ujungnya nanti kalian kekurangan bahan. Since you're cutting circular skirt on fold, so after cutting them, open up the skirt dan potong satu sisi kainnya. So now let's start the sewing process. Jadi pertama, kalian mau combine the bodice part that I've explained before by combining panel A, B, C, and D. Dan untuk ngejahitnya, kalian bisa ngelakuin ini dengan menggunakan metode French seam supaya jahitannya kelihatan lebih bersih, since organza it's a semi-transparent fabric. Terus selanjutnya, kalian mau gather the outer part of the skirt. This is to create the puffy skirt effect. And setelah kalian gather all the skirt, you want to combine the outer part of the skirt to the outer part of the bodice, and then you combine the inner part of the skirt to the inner part of the bodice, and then sew them within the waistline. Jadi setelah kalian semua udah gabungin all the panels, you want to start combining the finished dress, which is combining the outer part of the dress to the inner part of the dress. And then this is how it will look like after you finish combining the dresses part. Setelah kalian selesai, make sure to fold the skirt hemline first, which is by folding it twice. So now let's continue with sewing the sleeve. So the first step you wanna do is to fold the hemline of the sleeve, just like what I did to the skirt part. Dan habis itu kalian mau ambil karet elastis dan pasang ke bagian lengannya. This is to create the puffy sleeve effect. Setelah kalian ngelakuin itu semua, baru kalian sambungin the side seam of the sleeve. And then there you have it, 2 identical sleeves to be attached to the bodice part. Now it comes to the last part, which is attaching the zipper to the back of the dress. And then there you have it, your self-made puffy dress.